Hello and welcome to Buncey Cast number 13, and we are back in the Premier League once again. This week it was Fulham facing off against Bournemouth at Craven Cottage, and to be honest, I am recording this about 4 minutes after the game has ended because what I've just watched was shambolic. No other way I can really put it than that. As always though, I'm going to go over the teams and discuss how each player done individually. So Fulham's team, we dropped Bessinelli and we actually started Sergio Rico in goal. I thought that he didn't really do much. It just proves, to be honest, that it doesn't matter who we start in goal. The goalkeeper isn't the issue. Bettinelli was not the issue. We're just awful altogether. It just seems a bit silly because it's putting paper over cracks. It's not going to work, and still conceded 3. I mean, nothing against Rico. I think he'll still start in upcoming matches. That he did show signs of being a decent goalkeeper, which I fully believe he can be. And I don't really care who's in net at this point. As long as they're wearing a Fulham badge, that's all that really matters. Anyway, Sergio Rico, overall, I'm going to give a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Timothy Fosu-Mensah, he gave away a silly penalty. Absolutely stupid. I don't understand why he would do it, to be honest. Silly tackle. It pretty much set the game's result before it had even really begun, and for that reason, it's just not a very good performance. Other areas of the game, he did quite well. Like defensively, he was probably better than most of the other defenders. And going forward, he did have one bursting run, but he just didn't pull the trigger for some reason. It was a bit questionable. But overall, for Fosu-Mensah, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Moving on to Odoi, and I mean, what can we really say? I mean, he's not a Premier League defender. I say it week in, week out. Not much more can really be said. I think he didn't play awfully, but overall I am going to give him a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Tim Ream, it was interesting to see the Odoi and Ream partnership again. Is it good enough for the Premier League? I don't think so. But there we go, we got to stick by what Slav wants. Slav puts in what he thinks is best, and we got to stick by it while he's in charge. So Tim Ream, I didn't think again he had his worst performance ever. I think last week was probably worse, but overall I'm still going to give Tim Ream a 4 out of 10 performance. Moving on to Maxime Le Marchand, and I do rate Le Marchand, to be honest. I think he is a decent player, and I didn't really see much from him from that game, to be honest. There wasn't much to really discuss, so overall I can't really say too much about him. Just going to give him a bog standard 5 out of 10. Moving on to the CDMs, and we did actually have Kevin McDonald. Bit of a weird one, this lineup, because I'm not too sure what the formation was, but we did play next Kevin McDonald, and he obviously got a red card, 2 yellows, bad disciplinary. I understand he's frustrated, but he just, by the end of the game, we were leaking more goals. I mean, we conceded 1 after he went off, and it probably happened because of the fact that it was too easy for Bournemouth to break through once McDonald had been sent off, and to be honest, he didn't do much, fall aside during the game. He isn't a Premier League player. He's Championship level. He's found his level in football. It's Championship, not Premier League. I think he's just not good enough, and I hope that we can play Anguissa now that he's actually been sent off. It might be a good thing. But anyway, McDonald, going to give him a 4 out of 10. Moving on to Jean-Michel Seri, and Seri is probably the only player that I think, him and Mitrovic were the only players that I think played remotely decent, and decent at a high. It doesn't get any higher than decent for this game because it was just appalling. But Seri, he was floating some decent balls into the box, and that's about it from him really. His passing, it's always pretty good, and, I'm just going to give him again a bog standard 5 out of 10. Moving on to Abubakar Kamara, and my oh my, what an appalling performance. I don't understand why we would play Kamara in the first place, to be honest, and he just didn't help himself. I really sincerely hope that we do not play Kamara in the coming weeks. I think that the system just did not work whatsoever. I think Kamara was a silly choice in the first place, and his performance was lacking in all areas. He was giving the ball away constantly. He dived. He clearly dived. I know he tries to win a penalty. If he wins it and he equalises to 1-1, then, a lot of people would like that. But at the same time, he's risking very serious consequences. I mean, for God's sake, why dive? Why do that? It's not how the game should go. Why in the modern game is diving so common? Kamara, that was absolutely disgraceful. And after that performance, I'm going to give Kamara a 1 out of 10. And that is quite simply what he deserves. Moving on to Andre Schürrle, number 14. And again, another week where he just decides that he doesn't want to pass it when he gets into the final third, and he's going to try and find a shot, an opening. Yes, it's worked twice. Is it going to work every game? Absolutely not. And to be honest, he did pull off some pretty decent moves, but let's be honest here. We only had one shot on target. One shot on target for the whole game. That is appalling. Like, how are we only managing that? It's just, it's so annoying. Anyway, Andre Schürrle, nothing more can really be said. Overall, going to give him a 3 out of 10. Moving on to Ryan Sessegnon. I think that Sessegnon, he's one of the only players that has a passion for his shirt, and we can really see that on the pitch. And to be honest, he didn't really do much in that game. He tried to create what he could. His passing was pretty decent in some areas of the pitch, and overall, I'm going to give Sessegnon box standard 5 out of 10. Moving on to the final player, it was Aleksandar Mitrovic up top, and to be honest, he was probably our best defender in that game. He was tracking back, and he was winning some balls, winning possession back, but going forward, attackingly, we only had one shot on target. It wasn't the best, and Mitrovic, he is meant to be our goal scorer, but he just couldn't get a shot off. It's not great from his striker, so as much as I don't want to, I'm going to give Mitrovic a 4 out of 10 rating, because I think that that's probably about what he deserves. Anyway, moving on to the main factor to discuss, Slavisa Jokanovic. I don't know what he does during the week with our side. It's just, honestly, it's just appalling. And at this point, I think that we do need to be looking into the possibility of thinking how many more games are we really going to give him to get a result. Because personally, I really like him as a manager. I think that he's one of them managers that you look to get on and take forward for many years to come. But with Slavisa Jokanovic, we're just not making any decent changes. We're putting pretty much a new side on the pitch every week, and we really are probably going to get close to as many different combinations as we can, but it doesn't work, because every week it looks like our players are seeing each other for the first time ever. It's like they've all just transferred to a brand new school and they're just playing on the pitch together and seeing how it goes. It's funny because it's just so bad, and you have to laugh at how bad his tactics actually are. I mean, personally, again, I would say give him Huddersfield. Let's see how we perform against Huddersfield, because I do think that as much as I like the guy, it is a bit mad to be thinking at this stage, Slav out. But as much as I like the guy, if we have another performance like we did against Bournemouth, against Huddersfield, then it might be time to start thinking about the possibility. That's just my opinion. To be honest, a lot of people are 50-50 on the case, just like me, and it's going to be a tough one. But that just about wraps it up, to be honest, for this podcast. It's a pretty short one. There's not much more to discuss because there are absolutely no positives to take from that game whatsoever. We were absolutely appalling. Probably the only thing that I can take positively out of that is that Tom Cairney come off the bench, so he could potentially be back in weeks to come. That's about it, really. Thank you very much for listening to this week's Buncey Cast, and goodbye for now. Hey.